All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. Again, thank you so much for being on the webinar tonight. My name is Scott, and I'm excited that you have joined us. We've got some very exciting information we want to get into. My background, just so you know, has been in technology. I've been in the technology industry for well over 20 years, and I have seen a lot of things. And I have never been more excited about an idea than the idea that I'm going to share with you right now. It would be important for you to maybe have a frame of reference. And something that we all know is Apple Computer. And if we remember back to mid-98, Apple was not in a good place. Apple had just gone through one of its worst periods in its history, and it had asked for, or it had brought back into the company Steve Jobs, its original CEO that had been kicked out. They brought Steve back into the company to try to resurrect the company. And Steve introduced a brand new concept called the iMac. And the iMac became a little bit of a revolution. And at the time, the iMac changed a lot of things within the personal computing space. Having said that, the iMac captured a very, very small market share. At the time that Steve took over, Apple had less than 0.5% market share in the personal computing space. And with the introduction of the iMac and a few other Macs around the 98 timeframe, they were able to get that to about 1% of the market. Not a lot to write home about. Fast forward, though, to 2001, and Apple introduced a game-changing little device called the iPod. And more than just the iPod itself, they introduced something called iTunes. And so there was this ecosystem where the iPod was the way to carry the songs in your pocket, and iTunes was the way to access any song you would want and instantly get it onto the iPod. Well, what happened is millions of consumers purchased the iPod who did not own Macs. And in doing so, they were brought into the Mac world. Now, they could use the iPod standalone, but what they found is that they were leaving a lot of benefits on the table. And so many of those millions of users went and purchased Macs to accentuate the experience that they got with the iPod. Well, at that point, Mac's market share started growing in a very, very rapid rate. Then fast forward to June of 2007, and the technology that has changed all of our lives, the smartphone, hit the market. It was the iPhone 1, and no one had ever seen anything like it. No one even understood how it would work, and today we can't imagine life without it. The big, giant corporations like Motorola and Nokia that were dominating the landscape, they disappeared in 24 to 36 months because of how powerful and game-changing the iPhone concept was. And of course, the Android followed about a year later, and the smartphone revolution took place. Well, millions and millions of people who did not have an iPod and did not have a Mac, they bought the iPhone. And in doing so, they could use the iPhone standalone. But what they discovered is that if they would go back and get a Mac, they would increase or accentuate their experience in a big way. And so what ended up happening? Apple became the #1 brand in the world. And today, Apple makes more or sells more personal computers than any other individual computer company in the world. They are the #1 personal computing device. Now, they didn't try to become the #1 personal computing device by selling more computers. They came at it with a Trojan horse called the iPod and the iPhone. Well, keep that in mind as I introduce you to what we have done in our history as we lead into explaining this technology. 11 years ago, some guys introduced a concept that was a basic travel idea. And I'm going to explain that briefly so you can get the picture of where we've come from. And what that has led to is the introduction of a piece of technology that's going to look just like this right here. We call it the FLYE card. It is what is going to be known in the technology industry generically as a smart card. And I will tell you that this technology will be ubiquitous within the next 24 to 36 months. What I mean by that is this. Everyone you know is going to carry some version of a smart card in their pocket, in their purse, in their wallet, and it will be their sole source of payment or their primary source of paying for everything. We are going to be the first to the market. We should be first by at least 9 months, if not longer. And then over the next 2 years, other competitors are going to enter the space. But we have first mover advantage. What does this card do? It's a computer that is the exact same size as a credit card. It's got very advanced technologies in it. Bluetooth, near field communication. It's got multiple processors. It has the most advanced biometric security ever developed in the technology space. And you load every single payment method you have in your wallet or purse through an app into your smart card. And so whether it be your credit cards, your debit cards, things like your Starbucks card that you buy coffee with, all of it goes into one card. It is ultra, ultra secure. It is infinitely more secure than anything you're carrying in your wallet today. It is also ultra convenient. Whether you have ever thought about this or not, for instance, if you lose your wallet, if you lose your purse, you have to replace all those credit cards. And it's not just the process of canceling and then getting the new card sent to you. It's remembering where you've set up all the auto pays and going and setting all that. Well, with us, with this card, if you were to lose the smart card, first of all, you can wipe it clean within your app. Nobody can do anything with the information. And secondly, you haven't lost anything. They just send you a new card, you resync it with your phone, and the next thing you know, you're back in business. You haven't had to call your bank or credit card companies even a single time. We've got beacon technology, which is going to allow us to offer our card holders really cool, unique opportunities for savings, for perks, for bonuses, for fun events that we can do that are kind of scavenger hunt style events within a given environment. And so that's all going to be a part of it. And of course, we've also got a way where when our users of the smart card are using these cards for transactions, we're going to be able to reward them on virtually any transaction that goes through the smart card. Some of you are probably saying, how could I take advantage of this technology? Is there a way I could actually profit from this technology, that I could actually earn income on the growth of this space? And the answer is absolutely yes. And this is why I am so fired up. This is why I believe we are sitting at a very, very historic moment. Let me just tell you a story. You see, in every technology space, there are what are known as early adopters. And the early adopters are the ones who are going to get the technology before everyone else, and they don't need all the questions answered. They don't need to know how everything works. In fact, they expect that sometimes it won't all work. And they're willing to accept some of that to be one of the first people in the world to have it. And I was one of the first people to order an iPhone. And I can remember walking around and people would come up to me and they would ask me, they would say, Scott, is that one of those iPhones? What is it? How does it work? Do you like it? What makes it different from a normal phone? Because they'd never seen anything like it. And I would explain it to them, and I would talk about how passionate I was about how this was going to change everything. And people would get excited about it, and they would go away and they would get phones. Now, let me just ask you this. Who really sold all the iPhones? Was it Apple or was it the early adopters of the phone? My contention is that it was the early adopters. See, Apple sold people like me, but then I and people like me showed the phone to other people, and that's what made them want one. But just like the Apple evolution caused, when they got to the iPhone, it caused people to go back and get the Mac, that's going to happen with us too. People are going to, by the millions, adopt the FLYE card who have never seen a Dream Trip presentation. They've never heard of Dream Trips. But what's going to happen? Because they own a FLYE card, they're going to start to see that I'm earning points. I'm being rewarded. And if I was inside this Dream Trip ecosystem, it would be even more beneficial to me. And they're going to go back and they're going to begin to adopt Dream Trips memberships as well. So here's what's exciting. You can profit on the FLYE card, which is going to go viral and is going to be very, very big in and of itself. But then as an added bonus, you're going to profit as all the people who buy FLYE cards over the next 24, 36 months start to upgrade and become members of our club as well. Here's how it works. You see 3 circles on the screen right now. And today, as things exist, only the 2 in the center are in operation. You see, right now we have customers. These are the members of our club. And we have the representatives who represent the club and tell people about the club so they can become a customer. Pretty soon what's going to happen is we're going to give those customers the ability to get the FLYE card. They're going to be the early adopters. This would be you if you joined tonight and go to refer a club member. Well, those early adopters are going to be out in the marketplace. And just like me with the iPhone 1, what do you think is going to happen? Put yourself in the average retail environment. You're standing there at the counter and you're watching the person in front of you check out. And that person pulls what looks like a credit card out, but then they start swiping across it like it's a smartphone. And it lights up and it starts blinking. And then you see them swiping again. And then they hand it to the cashier. What is your natural inclination? You're thinking, what is that? What happens to me with the phone is people will come up to you and say, what is that? Where did you get it? What does that do? And you explain to them, this is just the way that everybody's going to pay for everything. And at that point, we as early adopters will tip over the dominoes that will lead to millions of FLYE cards being sold. Well, at that point, it's out in the wild, and none of these people have ever heard of Dream Trips. They've never heard of our corporation, but here's how it will grow, because it's all based on an app on your phone. You see, when you get the FLYE card, you're going to set it up through an app on your phone. When someone comes up to you and they say to you, what is that? How do I get one? You say, oh, well, you need to go to this link. And inside the app will produce a unique link that identifies the link as tracing back to you. You'll give that link to the person. They'll get on the link. They'll order their own FLYE card. The FLYE card will come to them and they'll just start using it. But guess what? That person will then set up their FLYE card in an app that will produce a link for them. So then they're with their spouse. They're with their business partners. They're out shopping with their friends. And their friends see the FLYE card and they say, I want one of those. How do I get one? Well, there's this link here. I'll send it to you. And the link goes to them. And it starts to look like this. FLYE cards start begetting FLYE cards that beget FLYE cards. Now, none of these people are representatives. They're just adopters. They're saying, what is that card? How does it work? How do I get one? Oh, you got to go to this link. Oh, you got to go to this link. Oh, you got to go to this link. And as that link keeps getting handed out, there's only one rep in the picture. That's you, the person who tipped over the first domino. And so you're going to be able to be paid commissions on every single one of these cards that comes back to you on infinite generations of cards. Now that's very, very exciting. There's a lot of wealth that could get created right there, but we're only scratching the surface, because the way our compensation plan works is much like a real estate broker and agent model. And when you get started, you are going to be in a chain in which other reps can be placed. And when those reps are placed in that chain, they can tip over dominoes that lead to cards being sold. And every time those cards are sold, you're collecting an override on those cards as well. And that is also to infinite generations of depth. So you're getting paid bonuses and commissions on the cards that come back through your link that you personally have tipped over some dominoes, and those people tell people who tell people who tell people. That's going left and right, bringing income back into your family. But you're also getting an override on infinite generations of depth of other reps who join the chain and begin to share the FLYE card with other people. And so I'm going to wrap up with this, guys. We're sitting at a very historic time. There will be one time in history that we turn the lights on this idea. There will be before the FLYE card goes live and after the FLYE card goes live. It will go absolutely viral. Those links will keep being shared, and everyone who's tipped over some dominoes is going to be really, really glad that they got involved in this idea.